I'm delighted to now invite Chang Tsann, who is the Senior Director, APJ Consulting Services with Dell Technologies. He will lead this panel together with this very distinguished set of leaders. Welcome, Chang Tsann. Thank you very much for partnering and for also joining us for this session. Yeah, excellent, Chang Tsann. Maybe I can't hear you. Yes. Right.
Yeah,
I would also like to invite. Yes.
Thanks for introduction.
Excellent,
yeah, go
Chang
ahead.
Tsann. Thank you. Let me also invite our other fellow distinguished panelists. First up, I want to invite Chari TVT, who is Chari is the board member with UEM. He is also an advisor for startups. He is now transitioning to becoming a philanthropist. Most importantly, he is my dear friend. So, Chari, thank you very much for gracing this occasion and coming and joining us and sharing your perspectives. Thank you. I would like to invite Mr. Kenny Ong, CEO of Astro Radio, as well. Kenny, thank you. Looking forward to your comments and participation. We have all enjoyed radio in the last 2 years, maybe immensely more. So thank you for adding that color. And finally, I would like to invite Mr. Venkat Padmanabhan, Chairman, Manas Group of Companies based here in Singapore. Welcome, Venkat. Venkat, prior to this, was the president with Olam and leading the finance portfolio there. And Venkat holds distinguished positions. He's very active in the community in Singapore, encouraging entrepreneurs as well. So I think we have a fabulous panel here. Let me hand it back into the capable hands of Chang Tsann. So over to you, Chang Tsann.
Okay, thanks, Manoj, for the introduction, and very pleased here today to host this panel of discussion, and really want to welcome Chari, Kenny, and Venkat, right? For coming into this discussion on the winning, right? In winning into the future as well, right? And I think just now, as you hear from Manoj and also from Yao Chong in the keynote as well, right? You probably hear that there's a lot of optimism that is really coming out in the last 2 years. A lot of transformation that we are really going through, right? Whether in our personal life but also definitely in the business way, right? In the business world, that we are really transforming the way that we are doing our business as well. And you can hear from Manoj as he outlined some of the key points in the way that how can we look at the digital intensity as well, and how do we look into the resiliency, and how do we go beyond as well, right? In coming forth, right? And in terms of the way that we are leading into the acceleration into 2022 and beyond. So my first question that I would have for the panel here is really on what are your company's priorities in 2022, right? And coming out, as you probably hear earlier on, that we are now shaping up and getting into gear into the new year, and maybe you can share some insights of what your company priorities in 2022. Maybe we can start with Chari.
All right, thank you. Chang Tsann. Thanks to Manoj Twimbet for giving this opportunity. It's good to see some of my friends here. Great to be back again. Now, fundamentally, what we are looking for, the last 2 years have not been as good, especially some of the industry that I am associated with. The UVM Sunrise is in the property division. And to the extent, primary responsibility for us moving into 2022 is to make sure that we bring back the customer. Bringing back the customer, providing some confidence to them, dealers and distributors, and we need to sort of bring them back. And that's going to be probably the most important piece of what we're trying to do. Again, IT and technology will play a significant role in bringing this back. The last 2 years gave us enough amount of time to think about what we need to do, technologies like VR, AR, immersive technology, and all that stuff plays a significant role instead of bringing the people to the showroom that you have. We can provide similar experience sitting wherever you are. So the customer experience is getting a lot more important than what it used to be. So I think to me, the first and foremost thing that we are focused on is how do I bring back the customer and get back the confidence of the customers to start doing business. Now, there's been a huge pent-up demand. There's a fair amount of money in the market. And all that we need to do is to sort of bring it into, right? The second thing that we are trying to do is also a fair amount of money and effort and time spent on digitization, getting ourselves a little more smarter in terms of how we are going to market, crowdsourcing, all that stuff is getting a lot more important. Platform business is getting a lot more important. So a fair amount of time and energy is being spent in terms of bringing in technology. And then thirdly, usual stuff that we do with respect to restructuring your capital structure, looking at all the lazy assets that we have, and then making sure that we refine or fine-tune our strategy. And these are some of the key items that we're looking for. And the other thing that's probably getting a lot more importance is around cybersecurity and all that stuff. So those are, if you ask me at a very high level, things that are being focused today.
Well, thanks, Chari. I think the question on cybersecurity, I will hold it for a minute here. I will come back to that
correct.
later on. Well, right, and going to Kenny as well, right? I think Astro. I'm also a fan of Astro. I kind of watch a lot of the on demand on the program as well, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, so wanted to find out from you as well, from your company as well, is that how do you all see your priorities and how is it shaping up in 2022? Same question, yeah.
Yeah, I think our priorities is similar to the name of this conference, which is to accelerate. Right? So we took the past 2 years with the whole global slowdown, even in Malaysia, right, to actually take stock of what we have in terms of the content, in terms of the people, and especially the tech side. And we took 2 years to build up a lot of the things that we knew were going to happen, once this whole pandemic is starting to go away. So we are now, right off the gate, we are already going to the market already with those things that we have built. So because we knew that if we waited for the COVID to end only to start building on the tech side, it'd be too late. So we actually built those things right off. When we first saw it coming 2 years ago, we already said, okay, we're going to switch mode from traditional. We already start investing new things in tech, because before that, we didn't really have, I'm not to say courage, but we didn't have wanting to take big bets in a lot of the things, especially on the digital side, because radio was doing well. On our pay TV side, we were doing well. Everything that in Astro Group was actually going very well. And we were running like 110, 10%, and there was really no time to do R&D or tech development. So that in a way, the whole thing changed during COVID. So we actually took the time to actually rebuild the tech infrastructure that we have, and to make sure that we are ready for the digital world. So we are ready now, and we're already moving the market with new stuff. So I think for us, it's more of, taking those things to market for us. Yeah, that's so it's all about accelerating in 2022 for us.
Well, very well. Acceleration, that's a key word there. And also maybe hearing from you, Venkat, anything you would like to share with us?
Yeah, very good afternoon, dear friends. This is a lunchtime. So we are stopping you from lunch, or I don't know whether you already had a lunch. So the thing is, let me put it this way, macro and then a little bit micro. Because in my new avatar, after 28 years plus in Olam, now I'm sitting in many boards. So I have, as I speak, not an executive position, but as a chairman, about around 15 companies, I'm guiding them to the new world. One is the fresh, air of fresh, right? Today morning is where Singapore opened up. I don't need to wear the mask. And I can see the freshness when I walk. And that's same for a business, because we are able to now see opportunities coming and hitting, plenty of opportunities. That's plenty of demand. People have been, locked in the room. Now they're coming out. Every business is thriving. Having said that, it's a VUCA world, the truly VUCA world. Earlier, we used to talk about volatile uncertainty as a theory. Who thought that Russia will go and attack? And who may think in future that can convert to nuclear war or a world third war? We don't know, right? Things are so uncertain. When we think that things are okay, we can do everything and perfect. boom, oil price is going up, inflation is really, oil price is high, and because the inflation is high, because the interest rate is going to go up, and if it all goes up, the economy can collapse, capital market can collapse, private market already collapsed. The private equity valuations have collapsed a lot. That means there's a lot of challenges on raising money, etc. So, but we have to be watchful. That means I call it as agility, be an eye on the macro, buoyancy, but at the same time, keep enough fuel. If at all there is crisis comes and hits, how do you able to survive in an agile way without falling and hurting yourself? That's at a macro level. But at a company level, each individual company level, I think beautifully Manoj put up, I think this is not the world of competition. If anybody talks about competition, I say they're doomed. I'm very clear. Because earlier we have been taught to kill the competition. But today I will say that be ready to be bed with the competition. In the sense, you have to collaborate. The examples he's talked about, property equity, of course, is beyond bank, but even within the banks. Because now banks itself, who is called bank today? A Maersk Airline is the bank, they become financial institution. Alibaba is the bank, they become financial institution. That means there's a thin line between the sectors which are all getting, blurred. Everybody is getting into every other space. And that only way by which we can survive is the collaboration. So for all my 15 companies which I'm guiding now, collaboration is very, very key activity. Two is, like I said, agility and cost saving. That means how you can use the technologies to really expand, both in terms of customer delight and reaching new clients, or even the working, because today the world has become a village. I can work sitting in, say, Uzbekistan or in Brazil, and I can do work in Singapore. If that is the case, talent is available all over the world. So how do we, help our people? People don't want to go back to office. So that we can create, but at the same time, create the empathy, connection with people, motivation, inspiration, so that, the ownership mindset is built on the people. That's very important for them to take it on. The third area. The third and fourth area is innovation. I think you have to continuously beat yourself. It is not the competition need to beat you. You need to reinvent yourself. Be as an individual, be it a company, because you don't know where a small young boy from NUS or any university can come and shake you. That is the world we are living in. So that you have to really create your own what is called ninja team within your business, so that your model itself is challenged and the new models are getting created. And lastly, the digital world. I think this is the world of digital. I mean, people are talking about metaverse, where you can have Venkat in metaverse wearing whatever he wants to wear. And I'm getting used to, because though I'm in old school, but now with playing with youngsters, I'm learning. We have to adapt ourselves for the digital world. All of us have to reinvent, re-educate, become like a child, so that we relearn the skills of digital world, which includes even cyber attack, because that's a business available. That's why people are coming and attacking, because there's a fantastic business for them to make money. And to both sides, that is to attack as well as to prevent. These are the few areas that I focus on. Thank you.
Thanks for the the way that you assess and look at how the priorities are evolving. I hear a few key words that you mentioned in terms of the opportunities, the uncertainty. You talk about agility and also collaboration as a key word there, right? I mean, technology is also what I hear from you, to delight your customer and to evolve as well. I think those are some of the key insights that you provided, just now. I think if I move on to my second question, which is something that I hear from the three panelists as well, that from Chari, you also mentioned about fine-tuning your technology, your strategy, right? And how to pen up the pent-up demand itself. How do you address that? And so from Kenny, you also mentioned about rebuilding your technology infrastructure as well. I really want to find out as well is that how and what has the role of the technology, right, evolved in these recent years to help you in your meeting your priorities as well. How has it, can you share some of these the evolution and technology? How has it helped in your business? And Chari, you want to kind of provide some of your inputs on?
No, thank you. It's a pretty important question. I was sharing this with Venkat some time back. There are a few companies which died because of the pandemic, and they suffered a lot, primarily because of the fact that they are in certain businesses that, unfortunately, they were in the wrong business. like whether it's tourism, Malaysian airports, any airport, airlines and all that. And hotel industry suffered a lot, right? And there are a few companies which benefited substantially also, whether you're in pharmaceutical or whether you're in technology, video conferencing, and also if you're in the right business, it just grew, right? But there are two other groups of companies which either survived or died. One set of company is people who have not embraced technology would have anyway died 2 to 3 years from today. Because of pandemic, it just expedited the whole thing, right? So the pandemic is kind of an awareness to say that, look, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, embracing technology, as a result of which you died. And there are people who would have died otherwise, but because they embraced technology, they just moved forward and they've been successful. There are actually 4 categories of people. And so technology plays an absolutely significant role. And as board members, we need to be aware of what is happening in the world and start embracing it. The digital disruption. And I used to give this example all the time. 10 years back, my revenue was close to about 8 billion. Out of that, 2 billion came from SMS alone, right? And that SMS business of 2 billion just vanished within a matter of 18 months, right under your nose. 25% of your revenue and 55% of your EBITDA margin vanished, not from a traditional competitor. It's not coming from either Singtel or M1 or StarHub or something. It came from somebody known as WhatsApp, and they just took the business away. And so we need to be aware of digital disruption and start countering slowly, steadily. And that means you need to anticipate which is the digital disruption. You need to understand what they are and start doing some digital transformation. And this is absolutely important. Banks did a very good job, as Manoj rightly pointed out. People like DBS realized it about 15 years back and started working on. And it's going to be so critical for any company to survive. Right? So technologies, whether it is blockchain, metaverse, VR, you call anything. But fundamentally, what we need to do is to say that, look, these technologies will take me to the next level. Right? Now, see, there's a small company that I'm mentoring. Right? And then they said that, look, I need to have another 100 more salespeople. Right? And if you bring in 100 more salespeople, the fixed cost goes up substantially, and you're not sure whether you're going to make money or not. So essentially, we created a platform, and there were a number of freelancers who were available. We onboarded them, and suddenly you've got about 1,000 salespeople who are ready to work, and based on variable compensation. So again, those are things that we need to start thinking. Even Chua, Mr. Chua said that business models are important. How many of us really understand the role of business model? If I go to petrol stations, and I'm supporting a company called Bausted, and I'm the financial advisor of the company, and now these people are saying that, look, people are coming in to buy gas, petrol, right? And then incidentally, they go to my retail store and buy their chocolates and biscuits and cigarettes and all that stuff. Now, tomorrow, what I want to do is I want people to come to my retail first. And I want to revamp my retail substantially. And incidentally, if they want to go and put petrol, that's all right with me. So the mindset, the business model is also going to be extremely important for the board and the management to start thinking about. I think, as Venkat rightly said, opportunities are huge. And as long as we start embracing technology and start using them, I think the huge amount of opportunity for innovation. And the market, surprisingly, the share market is also rewarding people who are moving into this so-called click and mortar versus the brick and mortar. I'm not saying brick and mortars are going to die, but the click and mortar business is going to be so well recognized that the valuation also goes up. I probably stop here. You get a feel of what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, yes. Maybe, Kenny, anything that you would like to add on as well from your perspective?
Well, I agree, with Chari. Very importantly is that I think it's very important for us to, although this is a technology panel and a technology conference, it is very important, even in Astro's case and anybody who's looking at this, is to don't think of digital and technology for the sake of digital and technology. That means if everybody is doing this, then you're trying to jump this. This is the new tech, we all jump. Because I think the most important thing is to understand the fundamentals of your business model and how you want to evolve it, and then what kind of technology then you want to adopt, or what kind of digital infrastructure that you need. So again, I want to say that it's very dangerous for a company to say that, oh, we want to go digital or we want to, automate, because that is a very dangerous thinking unless you know the business model that you have. And I think, we all have to understand again the dynamics of the business model before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic. A lot of people make the mistake that thinking these three are the same. So for example, there are a lot of businesses that actually thrive during the pandemic, during the MCO. But now that as we are coming out of the pandemic, you notice a lot of these businesses are not faring very well. And if you have dumped a lot of money into this, I can give you a very good example, right? One is glove manufacturers, right? So during the height of the pandemic, a lot of this, the one or two made a lot of money. And then you find, I don't know, a lot of companies who are not doing gloves started to go into gloves, building factories, building stuff like that. And then as we're coming out, you can see the whole price, thing dropping, the economics don't work anymore. And the economic work against the behaviors of the people post-pandemic. The other one is e-commerce. There was a lot of overhype about e-commerce, about people, going online to shop. Of course, because if you know where to go, that's where you buy, right? But as you come out of that pandemic situation, you notice that now there's a huge, tremendous pressure on any e-commerce or e-delivery, e-shopping, kind of service. And they're not faring very well across the board because of the fact that that was a pandemic situation business model, not post-pandemic. So I think all of us have to understand what business models work pre-pandemic, what do you need to change during the pandemic, and what are you building for post-pandemic. I think that will be key. I think when we looked at Astro, we actually looked at these three components, and we were building a lot of the things. We actually built it for post, not for the during pandemic situation.
Yeah, very, very good. I think there's something for us to to learn as well, right? Pre, during, and post. And Venkat, how about yourself? Anything that you see from a technology standpoint?
Yeah. So like Kenny said, so let me divide the response into two parts. One about an MNC and about the new businesses, but both we will see a commonality. So I've been with this Valam group for 28 years. So, $40 billion company, 87,000 employees, 44 agri commodities and so on and so forth, 70 country operation. During the COVID time, because much before we have adopted digitalization, when I talk about we are just a food company, integrated supply chain managers, we have 222 factories all across the world, we touch 5 million farmers, but we adopted digital. When I say the digital, the first stage, like he says, for your business model is the data, garbage in, garbage out, right? So that means you need to spend so much time even on a simple chart of accounts, what information should be centralized, what should be decentralized. Without that, you go and spend millions and billions, like people have written off billions of dollars after implementing ERP because they're not thought through. We thought through, we invested much in advance. Hence, during the COVID period, we didn't suffer at all. And in fact, the year which is just gone by was a record year in our 30s of existence, with the first year where we delivered supernormal profit. And mind you, none of us have traveled to the locations. We all travel 15, 20 days on the location. 2 years, nobody traveled, but still we delivered. That shows that the maturity of the organization, both in terms of the culture, values, and the systems we put in place. Now, coming to the new age companies which I'm in touch, I think it's very, very important. Like it says, post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, we're talking about. Who knows that post-Third World War, post-Russia attacking nuclear, we may speak 1 month down the line. We don't know, right? There are a lot of such things are coming up. So the key thing is agility. You have to be agile so that, we don't know. Nobody expected a COVID. Nobody expected a COVID will continue for such a long period. We don't know what more in the store, but agility is very, very important. That's one. Second is the mega trend. The mega trend, when I talk about, like, for example, I just briefly mentioned about metaverse, but in all my companies, I'm just now pushing them to think about metaverse. Just for a case in point, my robotic companies, now I'm creating my robotic classes, L&D class, how I can do my V4 robotics, another group of companies. We already have a division. I put some team of people and they started doing the work. CAD design we are putting in. We have got identified students. Nothing has come. Nobody thought about it. But I'm putting some money investment in there so that we are geared up for that. Sales, when I talked about earlier, like Chari talked about 100 salespeople, etc. Now the world has changed. I got my best friend who was ex-Code CEO, Ben. He came and told me that, Venkat, now things have changed. Shopify and Lazada, with $100 investment in a month, you can do a targeted marketing and sell. And you can start delivering with the Ninja van things which otherwise you would have spent $10, $20 to deliver, $5 less than $5. right? Setting up a Shopify account is just like that. I've created 4 accounts. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're not the mindset of the old economy, like, I've been coming from an agri company, which is brick and mortar for so many years. But when I'm adopting into the new life, you have to quickly adapt and be able to embrace what is happening now, both in mega trend as well as micro trend. Both you need to adapt and able to put in place. And same with the NFT and say, the crypto. I don't know how many of us are thinking that tomorrow we may have to trade in crypto only. That means our things will be bought and sold in through tokens. And one of my companies using tokens. So what I'm trying to say is we have to adapt. Things are changing in such a fast manner. The agility is what matters. Keep the organization as a learning organization so that we learn faster. And in all this, digital adoption, technology is a broad term, but the nuts and bolts of the business model, which both my friends are told, very, very modern, adapt digital. The digital could be even a simple Excel file put in a cloud. That also digital. But you choose for your business model what is important and then take it from there. Thank you.
Yeah, I think excellent on that as well. I think what I hear from the three panelists, the business model is very important as we look at the how we evolve, right, and adopt technology and innovation as well is also a key word in terms of how we can be agile to really transform, right? I think I wanted to maybe wrap up the last question here, right? In interest of time, and I think there are a lot of the upcoming challenges, right? And just now, if you hear from Manoj as well, right? Manoj mentioned about two things, right? How do we look beyond, right? Beyond today, and Kenny brought up that business model as in post pandemic. So beyond today, what are your what do you see are the most important, what are the challenges that you see in your business, right, beyond today? And then in order for that as well is that how do you build the resilience in your business, right, as in point number 3 that Manoj has also indicated, right? How do you build the resilience of all of this that you are planning beyond, the resiliency in your business in view of all the ransomware, all the cybersecurity risks? There's always attacking in our IT world, our business world as well, right? And you don't want to be in the news, in the paper tomorrow, right? So this question is really in terms of how you see the challenges beyond, and with their challenges, how do you build that resiliency, especially in view of the cybersecurity risk that we are having as well. Maybe that's the last question that I have, and Chari, you can start off first.
No, I think training plays a significant role. I consult for a company called Kroll, which is a global forensic company. Phishing training, for example. Things that happen in phishing, simple things like phishing, is so complex. And suddenly, you get your boss writing to you saying, can you transfer this money to somebody? You double click and you find out that it's somebody else. And so something as simple as that to a pretty complex way of attacking about 8,000, 10,000 cyber attacks on a particular day. Training plays a significant role. Every individual will have to be a little more careful. We can't leave everything on to IT and say IT is responsible for it. And to an extent, we also outsource some of the work because it is impossible for us to really stay on top of cyber changes, cyber attacks, and all that. So essentially, we end up depending on some large companies like Dell to make sure that our infrastructure is protected. But fundamentally, constant training is important. Now, I think the other thing that we need, not just for cyber, for the company moving forward, for innovation and all that stuff, most of the mundane work will be done by some bots or the other. Simple things like even bank reconciliation is being done by a bot. So we will all end up being hypothesis builder. Right? We're sitting there and saying, look, what could happen? Anticipate, and try to fix it. And that anticipation is going to be the new role of people who are coming on board. So more thinkers and less doers is what's going to happen. And we need to train the whole resources to drive towards that end point in a way. Thanks, Chang Tsann.
Okay, thanks, Chari. Hi, Kenny. How does Astro look at the challenges beyond, and how do you address cybersecurity as well in the beyond, right? As well.
Yeah, I think if you look at beyond, what's happening now and post-pandemic and what is going to come, again, I agree with the point that you it's very hard to really judge or be able to intercept what is going to happen specifically because things are moving so fast, right? So, and I think a couple of things. One is technology itself has become what we call they're bridging a lot of gaps. So technology what happened is that last time you used to have the number 1, number 2 companies, then number 3 and number 4 and 5, they're all so behind. Small companies are not able to catch up. But because of COVID and a combination of digital plus tech, it has like flattened the playing board, right? And everybody is like quite equal now. So the number 1, number 2 you can't even differentiate. Then you can't even differentiate a 2-person company, running behind a very big tech and then attacking a 20,000 person company. It doesn't make a difference anymore. So a lot of these things. So in terms of that, I think all companies have to be careful of what's the playing field like, because again it's made it like quite even for everybody. So yes, even out the playing field. That's number 1. And that's what Astro is looking at as well. And then we are working with a lot of different partners to bring them on board as well. Because we see that you can't work in a closed loop anymore. It is something that you just have to expand. So Astro has brought in, I think the past year you have seen us bring last time we used to have just Astro, right? Now on Astro you can subscribe to Disney, HBO, Netflix. They're all on Astro. They're all within the Astro box. Within Astro Radio, our digital Astro Radio called Shock, we used to have the 11 radio channels. Now we have 86 radio channels on Shock alone. So and we have all kinds of stuff on radio side. So I think I think the model has changed. That's number 1. Number 2, behavior has changed about. I think the COVID has done certain rewiring for many people, including ourselves in this room, right? The way we think about life, the way we think about career, we think what is important, not important. That has also changed a lot of to be fair, nobody will know how the behaviors are going to change coming out of the pandemic, right? Nobody, right? So I think that's where we need to monitor how people's mindset and behavior change. Some people want to work from home. Some people don't want to work from home. Some like to go shopping. Some don't like to go shopping. Some like the crowd. Some don't like the crowd. So a lot of things we still have to monitor. So I think that is a key thing, which is a big issue, but it's not addressed yet. Nobody knows how to address it. So we are also watching that space. And like you mentioned, I think as long as we tighten 2 things, is going to be important. One, of course, you said, privacy, data issues. These are all key things that every company needs to tighten up regardless. So as long as you're handling data, as long as you're handling audience, as long as you're handling any information at all, tightening up your backend in terms of your infrastructure, security clearance, your systems, your processes, that is key. But again, I think we all here know that a lot of times all these leakages in terms of cybersecurity and tech is nothing to do with the tech. It's your people, right? One person who just leaves his laptop open in a pub and everybody can just go in and access. I mean, that's or you have an employee who leaves you very angrily, and just before he leaves you, he copies all your data and then goes to another competitor. I mean, it's always a people issue that I've seen 90%. It's nothing to do with the tech. So you can tighten as much of the tech as possible, but I think that's the part that we need to take care of, the people part. And last is that I think in order for us to be able to evolve properly, it goes back to fundamentals. I think as long as our businesses are focused on what the consumer wants, if your target is the consumer, whether it's B2B or B2C, right? As long as you know what your client/consumer wants, and you keep innovating to what they want, I don't think you will go wrong. I think when we start looking at ourselves, that's when the problem starts. So I think as long as we try to cater to the market, what's the problem in the market, what are their needs, I think we will be good as long as we continue to evolve there.
Yeah, thanks, Kenny. And I think we need to kind of wrap it up here. But Venkat, give you maybe some insight in terms of how do you see just now, as I mentioned, about beyond and resiliency as well.
Sure. So quickly, just primarily for me, I think like everybody said, people. When I talk about people today, One, I think Kenny beautifully said that we all humanly rewired now because of COVID, and we realize what is life. Life and death is one breath away. All that we are realizing now much more. I don't know how long it will remain in our head, but we all changed for at least for the moment. Two is the employee forces changed. The millennials and the next generation, which is whatever generation we're talking about. Today, there is gig economy is coming. People are working for 5 companies at the same time because they do for a day one company, 2 hours, 3 hours. Now, how do you bring them together and how do you ensure that the culture is imbibed, the ownership mind is imbibed, and then hence they do the right thing. Like he said, the laptop they don't open it up and leave it on or whatever they talked about is a big challenge. So for me, the biggest area to focus on in the new world first is you need to relearn, and then how do we even in the new world engage. It is not the warmth of the handshake. It is not the getting together parties. But even otherwise, how do we, when people are working from home or even different parts of the world, how do you bring the connectivity and imbibe the culture of the company and purpose for which the big P and small P, for the purpose for which the people are standing up. And as a leader, how you inject, imbibe, and put it in that DNA so that it is part of the organizational DNA, which changes the company's culture. It's a new skill. So it's a challenge not for anybody else. It's for us as leaders. We need to evolve. We need to relearn. We have to go back. We cannot live on the old methodology. That's what I'll say as a priority. But fantastic discussion. Thank you.
Thanks very much for all panelists, right? For really providing us a very good insight in your thought leadership in how we can accelerate, right? Beyond, right? And beyond 2022, and how we can continue to innovate, and the business model that you guys have discussed about, and also the importance of resiliency in the business.